Alright, lads and lasses, welcome along. Video 3, Dataset 8. Hello, IT? Usual, isn't it? So, first couple of videos we've gone through, right, and we've covering a lot in Dataset 8, an awful lot. We went through and we did a basic build on what's, it's a pretty basic data set, but we've been able to pull some really useful areas into it. Hi. Wrote a function. Don't forget, so you've written your first function in M, hopefully. Might not be your first function. You might be, I can write functions in M all the time. Don't worry, written a function. Gone through, whacked in like a control chart style thing for Six Sigma. And now the Six Sigma purists amongst you are going to be going like, well, that's not proper control chart, right? It is and it isn't. It's probably the right way to put it. So Six Sigma, you should define and probably retain that. Now to stop you doing something similar and using the structures of the formulae to do the same with your upper and lower control limits. So you could do a full-on proper control chart if you wanted to. The nature of this, doing it in a dynamic fashion, is that really it should highlight much more clearly the areas that you're really interested in. And that's probably, in my little mind, a better way of going about control charts. We want to know, is it within bounds? And ultimately what you want to be able to do is, as you're progressing and moving forward and improving your business process, you want to be able to start to narrow the bound. Now, doing it this way, hopefully, fingers crossed, we should see the band automatically start to narrow. So if we were to compare month on month on month, as we went through over time, we should ideally start to see that band narrow. So the control chart, the upper and the lower limits, becomes actually self-correcting. So it's a good way of going about it. For all, well, it's not proper control charts. It is, I think, a sensible way of dealing with it. Answers on a postcard, like and subscribe, use the comments if you didn't like it. Right? Got all the measures done for that. Use calculation groups, flying through everything, right? So today, what are we going to do today? Right, I tell you what, scared of this thing, yeah? Right, and then we'll crack on with the rest of the video. Get rid of my face. So it's dead easy, isn't it? We're going to do hierarchies, yeah? Category, subcategory, an item, yeah? Like a bike, so a two-wheel thing, is it motorized, is it pushed, electric, petrol, like, yeah? You can kind of get the picture, right? They are simple to mess up. There is a gotcha in hierarchies. Why are we not surprised that there's a gotcha in Power BI? So, tell you what, let's hop on out in Power BI, have a look, see the gotchas, see any issues that there might well be, and see how you think of them, yeah? All right, so here we are, our in Power BI. You should recognize this page. You've seen it before. Now, in here, I've already put in a hierarchy, right? So I've combined my category header, so my category with my subcategory, right? And it's just drag and drop to build a hierarchy. It's now difficult in doing it, right? The last one we should probably add to it is going to be this U symptom. Looking at the way it's built, I think this goes with it as well. So let us drag that up, and it's just a drag and drop, put it on top of the category hierarchy label, and you see it'll add it to the bottom. And you can see the hierarchy we've used. We've got 2 layers in. If we want the third layer, we just click the button, and that's now added a third layer to the hierarchy for this, right? So, well, that was simple. What's this nonsense about a gotcha? Yeah, this guy moans a lot, doesn't he? Gotchas. Let's have a look at this one. So I've put here, just pulled it straight out so we can actually properly see it, yeah? If we put it in a table, might make a little bit more sense, might be easier, right? And we can see here are the instances of everything that we've got in our hierarchies. The problem is that if I look here, I've got category as well. And I can drag category into it. And then I can drag subcategory into it. And then I can grab U symptom, right? And we've built the same thing. Now, that on paper doesn't look too bad. The problem is, and the problem with all these things always is the same, is that consistency. So if you're wanting different people to all be able to use your report and use it consistently, you need to make sure everyone is using the hierarchy. So the gotcha with these is always the same, right? It's always make sure that you right click on your original fields and you choose to hide, right? And the gotcha with hiding, of course, is that if you hide a field that's already used, it stays used. So make sure when you're adding a hierarchy that you hide the extra fields or the original fields as you go through and you do it. Yeah? Nothing too complicated, is there? That was simple, wasn't it? Yeah? Who was this moaning about hierarchies? Once they're in there, though, you can use them just the same as you would anything else. In this case, I'm using them within a hierarchy, within a slicer. So it's great. I can just click on that, category 13, and you see it highlights all the ones below it as well. And you see it filters all the visuals on the page as we'd expect. Yeah. And we could do quite intricate things. We could drill right down into what's going on with this, symptom 379, for example, and actually see where it's being used. So there's a lot there that it'll do for you, right? And using hierarchies is a really recommended way of doing things, especially where you've got categorical information, hierarchies of information. Another one that people should often do, or will often do, is in the calendar table. So you might put your year and your month and your day, or your year, your quarter, your month, your day, whatever it is you're doing. Have a think about how you would put that in and what those would need to be. It's just good practice. If you get into the habit of doing it, people can then just drag and drop hierarchies into their visuals or into their charts, and it's good to go, yeah? And you're going to get some standard behaviors with it. Right? Got it? Champion. All right. Demo 5. Whoa. Highlighting main max. Now, oftentimes, don't you? We've got tables of data out there, or we've got charts, and it'd be useful if we could just show where's the most important piece of information there. Is it something we should be doing something about? Is there something else? What can we really be looking at to try and work out, is this the most significant, least significant? Is it just a high value or a low value, right? And it's quite an easy little syntax once you know how to do it. So I thought, well, let's just throw it in. It's nothing too difficult about it, but it's definitely one of them that as you become more familiar with DAX, you'll be more familiar and it becomes easier to use, as with so many things in life, right? So crack on over into Power BI, have a look, see what goes on. So I set this up so we could right click and drill through now and see what's happening in this resolved summary. So we'll come through here, we can see actually what's going on, right? And I've put this up. This is the sort of thing that you might do for your staff. So we can see that she's been working and there have been 5 problems that she's been covering. So tickets that have been related to a problem. So she's working problems. So she's doing some good. She's not having out to deal with changes, which is fine. So, she's probably one of our first line support team. And then we can see most of her ticket volume, and I've set this up as a flag, it's combining, basically it's multiplying the number of tickets by the the SLA percentage, so the on-time percentage, right? Just kind of trying to work out the best way to do it. What's going to give us the best little out of the values. So we can see this is the one that's the most important. No surprise there, it's the highest. But then we've got this least important or least relevant to it, which is category 51. And again, this is something we probably want to look to work out how we're doing the right thing, or the least performant, as it were. So it's because there is a value, whereas I think with these ones, no, it's 40%, all right. So we've got a low ticket volume and a low count. So we're probably some work to do still on ironing in this kind of formulae out, right? But in terms of the demo, I think it works well, yeah? I would probably still want to work on this to understand how can we really show problem areas, because in my world, this would probably be a greater problem. So this high number, low percentage. Yeah. But just the way I've written it, for the sake of this demo, it's come out here. The main thing I want you to see was we're just highlighting two different columns. Is there an issue? Is there not an issue? Right? And I thought this is key. So what's the syntax that we do for it? Because potentially we could do it for here as well. Couldn't we actually see how she's performing day over day? Yeah. Because we've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like the days of the week, and how she's performed with the SLAs against them. And then again, we've got here, haven't we? We've got the dates of the month, and then how many tickets she's resolved. And it would be good to even just be able to flag on here, where was the high day? Is 85 the highest day, the high point? Yeah. So those would be the kind of things it'd be great to just be able to highlight as well. And we've just got this one highlight showing off a little bit. How does this work? So how do we do it? What have I needed to do? So what I've done is I've written this formula here. So if we click on here, and then if we zoom in, you should be able to see it. So basically all you need to do is come up with a formula that you're going to do. The first thing, we need to get the table. And this is all done in variables. So we're starting to use variables an awful lot, aren't we? Yeah. And then rather than using nested ifs, we're using a switch statement. Right. So if you'll see, in place of a nested if, use switch at times. If you remember what I said to you in a different video, might be worth going back, having a look. Might put a link to it down below about how if is calculated in Power BI. Right. Switch statement can be better. Yeah. So it's nothing too tricky with this. We're basically building a table of all the values that are going into here. Right. And then we're using, well, what's the highest value? What's the lowest value? And what's the actual value for the current item that we're looking at? Yeah. And then we compare those and see which one comes back as the lowest, which one comes back as the highest, and then all the rest are just getting a 1 value. And then we're just using conditional formatting on that column. Okay. So now really fantastical about it, right? It just does a decent job. It's how I read. So we can do the same for here. So if we right click, I'm going to create a new measure. And pasted that in there, we can. Right. Okay. So as we can see, I've done it slightly differently. We're using day name because that's day name. Percent, all that stuff, it's all the same. Yeah. As I say, so much of DAX is about learning the syntax that you're going to use, just like the little repeatable steps. You're going to keep coming back to them, learn them, reuse them. Good to go, aren't you? That was hit enter on that. So we've now got our measure. So all I needed to do with that was I went through here, remove month name, which I've set up as in the axis for some reason. Data colors. Let's put some conditional formatting on it. You can see there already is some. What we really need to do is change that from being just on the percentage on time to it's going to be day of week. And what we want is make it diverging. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Let's see what comes out. So no surprise, we can see Monday is our best day, Sunday is our worst day. I don't think that would be a huge shocker to anyone. Although Monday being a great day is actually a bit of an interesting one for me. That's interesting. So we've got this idea, haven't we, about the way it's starting to build. Okay, so we've done that now. Let us see how we're going about flagging this one up, yeah? So again, something similar. So right click on that, let's create a new measure. Did I click new measure or new column? Right, column. Oh, what an idiot. Let's create a new measure this time. See if we can click the right button. Can't get the stuff, can I? Probably because of the way I gauge them using these kind of measures and charts and all that. So now we've named one measure. Let us just paste in the syntax from before, right? What we need to remember though is we're going to use different things, aren't we? Yeah. So in this case, we're using day and we're using month name. So we need to bring these in. So we've got day, and we're going to have calendar, month name, right? And then for this, we're just going to be using a count of instance. I'm going to leave it as percentage just because it's just a variable. It doesn't matter, right? Just so you can see, we can easily get away with these things, right? But what I need to remember to do is to change this as well. Okay? So what we're going to have is our maximum value is going to be 2 and our minimum value is going to be 0. Yeah? And then everything else is going to be a 1. So in this case, what we'd probably want to do is to color where it's a 0 or a 2. Yeah? And ignore the 1. So what we could do is we could say, well, minimum value is going to be 0. This one's going to be 1. And everything else, let's just leave it as blank. Even do blank. Yeah? So you can see, I can easily go in, I can edit that, I can update it, I can make it work for me for whatever time it is we need to do it. Right? So let us hit enter now. On that, go out to a table, and then under incidents, we can get into conditional formatting, and should we do font color? Somewhere else, let's do background color. Okay, so it's going to be based on table min max. So let's do some rules. Yeah, add a new rule. So if it is, and it is a number, so 0, 1. Okay, so hopefully all the ones have now been highlighted as red. Yeah, and 85 was the highest value, so it's now yellow. So what we've actually got here is we've got an issue that this one in the middle, is just a different color shade, isn't it? That's why I'm looking and going, that doesn't quite look right. So for that, again, it's not difficult, is it? You just scan through, change your conditional formatting. But the point, what you should be able to start to see is this is something we can all do, and you can reuse, and you can set this up, and all of a sudden it becomes really clear where was the good, where was the bad, what was the problem. And the reason why I've used yellow for what we would consider good, like a high ticket volume, is because there's pressure. So that's a risk, isn't there? There's pressure there, right? And the red is potentially saying this is something we don't get much of, and we're not doing too good with it, which is why I'm saying it's probably something I'd like to look and think through a bit more. Answers in the comments down below if you can think of a better way of doing it, and we'll come up with one for next week. And it's all about making sure that we've got something that when I come and I look at Sarah and we say, hey, Sarah, how's it going? How do you feel this year's gone? We can turn around and say, oh, well, this was all right. I had problems here. You know, oh, I remember at April the 4th, start of a new year. It was just a horrible, horrible period, right? And we could go through, we could review what had happened, yeah? And potentially it might even be, if we click on it, you know, it's the Monday. So we can probably pretty much work out what's happened there, can't we? Yeah? So we've got into a new year, new tax year for a normal, certainly in the UK, tax year runs April, starts April. Busy, period goes through, over the weekend, come back, oh no, get hammered again, yeah? So that's kind of a normal thing that we'd expect to see. And this, we're starting to see that suddenly we're basic data set, because let's not forget, we just start with a spreadsheet. We're being able to suddenly extract lots more information out of it. And this conditional formatting routine that we've gone through, we can start to really see what's happening and how can we help Sarah either help the rest of the team. So, what Sarah's doing is brilliant. We want more of the team doing the same, or do we need to spend more time with the likes of Anthony and go through what Anthony's doing and try and help him to become a better employee, or to show the rest of the team how to do it the way Anthony does it, because he's our top resolver quite clearly. But it's interesting to see, as you look into these, how the numbers change and what's going on with them, and the way that the charts are different. And hopefully you can see that there are differences in the way that these are going to come back, and the way that they should be triggering your interaction with the data. So that if you were a senior manager coming in, or a person manager coming in, you could start to really go through and say, all right, I can see more now than I could before. I'm starting to get more of a picture of it. Yeah. So here we go now. So KPIs, last thing we're going to do today. Yeah. Let's have a look at some KPIs. We've looked at these before, but I think it's important that we make it really clear that there's kind of two types of KPIs in Power BI. Yeah. And the two types, it's really important that you can kind of go, all right, I can see the two types, yeah, and what goes on with them. Because we've got the basic ones, which is what I've used here. All right. Now this one is all it is it's using this here. So this band state. So we've put in place everything there. And just like we did with the conditional formatting, it's going to come back, and it's going to come back with either a 1 or a 0. Yeah. To say it's either within band or it's out of band. So it's within the control limits or it's out of the control limits. If it's in the control limits, the way I've set this up with the conditional formatting on this table, if it's in them, it gets a little green dot. If it's out of them, we put a cross. Yeah. Put a cross because, like with so many things, you need to be aware if you've got people who are colorblind. So red and green isn't great, right? He says on a report, loads of green on it. Yeah, what a brilliant man he is. You've got to kind of make sure it stands out with someone else. So kind of one of them things you can do. That's a basic KPI. The issue you have is people have to remember to put the two together, right? Which is why there's the truer KPIs, as it were, in Power BI, yeah? So if we were to take, let's go into a new page, right? So if we were to take what percentage value here and say, right, I want to convert this into a KPI so I can use it time and again, right? How would we go about doing that? Right? And it's not too tricky. Okay. It starts, so many things do, go into external tools, open up Tabular Editor. What we've got our on-time percentage. Now this is our basic on-time percent, now rocket sciencey to it. All you need to do is right click on it, and then under create new, create a KPI. And for your KPI, the first thing you want to do is put in your target expression. For that, you just need to drag it in, right? Click the tick, save it. And then if we're going back out to Power BI, what you'll see is all of a sudden, I've got this labeled as a KPI now. Yeah, so you can see here, this is a KPI. It's got values, it's got a goal, it's got status. So we bring in the value, and you can see it's a percentage, which is kind of what we expected. Remember, this is going to be across the whole data set period, right? So what we could do is let's bring in month name as well. It probably isn't going to be very good because it'll be multi-year for some of them, but it's fine, isn't it? It is what it is. For the sake of this demo, it works for us. Right, and then let's get rid of the blank month names because, all months have names, don't they? Okay, and we can see January to December. Here's our calendar, right? Remember, each of these just a percentage. So the next thing I need to do is say, well, what's good, what's bad, yeah? And I guess, you know, like, for most of us would be saying, well, you know, I was 70% would be good, or, you know, I was 75%, right? Looking at this, I tell you what, let's say less than 40% is bad, over 60% is good, yeah? So that's all right, isn't it? We can manage that, okay? So that was going back to a tabular editor, yeah? And then on here, we're going to pick the status expression, okay? And I've written it already because, you know, I'm a bit lazy, yeah? So what you can see here, zoom in a bit so you can really see it. Got red, 0.4, red, so yellow, 0.6. The on-time percentage is what we're going to test it against. We're using a switch, and we've got two case statements in the switch, yeah, that we're testing. So is it greater than red? -1. So is it less than red? -1. Is it greater than the yellow boundary? So is it green? 1, otherwise 0. Yeah? Okay. So we're going to do that. So we'll hit save on that, and you can see it's added it there. The last thing we're going to do is we get to pick a graphic. What kind of graphic do you want for this? Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be ultra unfriendly to people. We're going to pick traffic lights. Yeah. And let's hit save on that, right? So now what happens if we're going back to Power BI desktop? We've got here, and of course, KPIs are not going to work in a chart. Yeah, they just aren't. They're not designed for that. So what we're going to do is we can Control-C, Control-V, create a copy of it. Drag it over there. Yeah, and then let's convert that to a table. We've got our month names, and we've got that there. Right now, if we bring in our status, we can see how it's gone. Right? So we can see straight away that was pretty easy to do. Okay, and because of the way it is, we could actually have the two together. So you don't have to be displaying. Again, one of the things I say many times, sometimes the numbers can be a bad thing for you, right? You know, I could be looking and saying, I really need to be picking on the right things here. And it can be difficult if people are seeing the numbers. What we're really saying is these are the months we need to be dealing with. Why were these so low? What was going on here, right? March might get dragged into it because it's, you know, similar. December might get dragged into it because it's similar. So suddenly we've got a lot more work that we're trying to do. So KPIs can be a really good way of just cutting off and saying, no, this is it. This is where the issues are. This is what we're working with. This is what we're not interested in today. Fix the red, then fix the amber, right? It's always the case, isn't it? Okay. So we'll look through these. That wasn't too difficult, though, was it? Put that in, get that started, right? You can see I've used the same values or the same value set to build the chart. And that's where the issue, that's where the benefit comes through. So your KPIs that you do in Tabular Editor will always appear consistently because you've defined that graphic. So I could go back in and say, no, do you know what? I didn't like those traffic lights, right? I don't want no traffic lights. What I want is I want smiley faces because that's the way I am. Let's see what smileys look like. So smileys, hit save. Let's go back to our Power BI. Here we go. Yeah, so these smiley faces, they're not very smiley faces, are they? You know, but this is probably better, isn't it? Because it's more expressive. So we can see the red diamond or square is bad. The yellow triangle is near. And you've got the green. Yay! Okay. So you're kind of getting the picture here, right? The KPIs, the structures are there. So I hope you can see, you know, we've managed to do quite a lot from what was a basic spreadsheet. Right? And this is the kind of thing that I would like to see all of you being able to do and all of you being prepared to have a go at. Right? And the important thing with this and what I really wanted to do with this data set and with this series was to show that it's entirely possible to go beyond where you would think you could do with your measures or with your metrics, with your report packs. So in this case, we've been able to take control charts, which potentially you wouldn't normally think, oh, I would use a control chart in here, because it's generally talked about for manufacturing processes. But because Power BI and a lot of the modern BI engines out there really wrap the technology around the data, it actually becomes very lightweight to actually experiment with your data sets and try something that you might not have tried. So, and now if we went people 5 years ago and said, oh, I'll tell you what, we're going to bring in process mining to look at how my team are doing and managing tickets on my service desk, someone would say, give your head a shake, man. Why are you wasting your money doing that? Right? But if I went back 20 years ago and said, we're going to do a time and motion study looking at how we deal with tickets on the service desk, someone would say, oh, they're about the same thing when you get right down to it. So we want to talk about process optimization, and really what we're trying to do with everything. It's not just about process optimization. It's about really how can we manage our business? How can we make our business data centric? And that's really the key point here, isn't it? I want to turn the way we do business around. I don't want to be doing the same stuff. Yeah. And I know I mentioned back in the week one, like rubbish ITIL metrics, right? I mean, ITIL, Six Sigma, they're all about the same. Yeah. Agile, lean methodologies, right? Fundamentally, they're coming down to saying to you, these are how we think or we recommend kind of tackling your business issues in your environment. Yeah. None of them are really saying you have to do this, you have to do that, right? If you read into them, what they're all kind of saying is pick a way of doing it and improve on it. That's the way, right? And that's not too bad, is it really? Kind of pick a way, and then you can go left, you can go right. Chances are stick in the middle is probably not the right thing, yeah? And so many things that we do in life are the same. Yeah. It's very unusual for us to be able to say, design a process, I can't sit with a client for 2 weeks. Wait, let's say, back in the past, used to do a full-on week-long engagement workshop with people documenting processes. I've process diagrams on the whiteboard. We'd gone through everything, right? And you'd kind of get the point where you'd realize what people are expecting is that we're going to have something that's perfect and it's going to last forever, right? And I don't think I ever saw one of those processes that really lasted 2 years. Certainly from how it was documented, and I think that's something that we need to all kind of be a little bit more understanding of, that when you're doing this, it's not about saying this is going to be perfect. It's about saying this is going to be as good as I can make it now, and I'm going to wrap around a methodology and a mindset for how we're going to keep making it better, right? And the capabilities that come with the modern BI engines really support that. So why wouldn't you want to use the tools that are available? Why wouldn't you want to try things that you wouldn't normally try? Why not? There is no reason why not. We could do the basics. We could do, well, I say basic. We could do the normal, what everyone does. But we want to innovate, don't we? We want to go beyond. How do we get to that next step? How can I understand fully what is happening within my environment? And how can I really understand the issues and the good that's happening so that I can replicate what's going really well? And then we can start to work it out and iron out the issues and the areas that we're having problems with. By looking at what goes well and what goes badly, you can start to really appreciate things. And it's always about the appreciation and the understanding is how you really start to progress. So one of the things that we've talked about before is Power BI allows you to do, I'm not going to tell you. Come back next week and find out. Yeah. So anyway, it's been great. I'm loving this. I hope you are loving it too. Don't forget, like and subscribe down below. Have a great weekend, and I hope you're going to carry on building this and let me know what you think, right? Catch you later. Have a great weekend. Ta-da.